6 o'clock has snuck up on us quickly, so I show 6 o'clock. We'll call this regular meeting of the Charter Township of Garfield to order, the board meeting to order. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ann, could you take a roll, please?
Schmuckel.
Here.
Korn.
Here.
Augustinelli.
Here.
Laney McManus.
Here.
McCumber.
Here.
Lapp.
Here.
And Joe McManus.
Here, thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is public comment. We have public comment at the beginning and at the end of our meetings. And then we do have two public hearings tonight as well. So feel free to step up and let us know anything you'd like to say. I would encourage, if your comments have to do with either of the public hearings, it might be more appropriate if you wait till that time to make your comments. But please step up, state your name and address for the record, and let us know what you have to say.
Hello, my name is Ben Castiglione. I live at 5937 Dover Lane. You're considering me for planning commissioner today, so I just wanted to come introduce myself and say hello. So if you have any questions for me at that time, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Seeing nobody beating a path to the microphone, we'll go ahead and close that public comment and move on to the review and approval of the agenda. And if anybody has any conflicts of interest, now would be the time to state those.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. This evening, you have minutes from November 26, 2024 regular meeting and the study session meeting. Recommend approval. Bills from the general fund, $410,809.75. Consideration of contractor's application for corrected final payment from Elmer's for Stone Ridge PRV. Recommend approval. And consideration of Bermley Meadows sanitary sewer and water main extension closeout and turnover documents. Recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything that anybody on the board would like to have removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda? Anything that the public would like to have removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda? Staff would like to have removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda? All right, I would entertain a motion to...
I would make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the consent calendar as presented. Any further discussion on that? And I'll take a roll, please.
Korn?
Yes.
Was that Augustinelli?
Yes.
Did you second it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. Schmuckel?
Yes.
McCumber?
Yes.
Lapp?
Yes.
Laney McManus?
Yes.
And Joe McManus.
Yes, okay. Next item is items that were removed. We'll skip past that and go to correspondence. Chris, I think there was one I know. Are there any other than that?
That was just a letter that I put together, reference Traverse Connect that I talked about yesterday.
Okay.
So that's what we sent out, and they appreciated us doing that.
Okay. Great, thank you. All right, we'll move on to reports. Item A is our county commissioners report.
Good evening, everyone. Brad Jewett, Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners. Just a very few things on to report to tonight. A week ago, or just over a week ago, the city had given the authorization to their manager to when she felt the time was right to sever ties with the county in regards to the technology, the IT and everything like that. We don't know when that's going to happen or anything, but there is a period of time per the contracts there where they're going to have to still be with us until they separate. They're going to go ahead and have their own full-scale IT department and handle all their technology issues and everything that they deal with day to day. We have been discussing budget. There's been more questions, it seems like, every time we discuss budget and everything like that, but right now the plans are to have that on our agenda for December 18th, and we are planning on getting that approved by then, because if we don't, we're going to have to come back before the holidays and everything, so, and make sure that's done before the end of the year. Tomorrow we do have a study session in regards to the airport bonding discussion. The airport wants to expand, and they want us to bond upwards of $70 million for them and everything. So we did give them the go-ahead to start pursuing that. That's not an okay to say that we're going to bond them, but they're getting research and everything. And so we have a meeting tomorrow at the Gov Center if you guys are interested in listening to that and everything. So, and then the last thing I have on here, the commission here this last week did approve a wage adjustment for commissioners. So we'll go from $12,000 for a regular commissioner, it was $12,000 for just a regular commissioner, $12,500 for vice chair, and $13,000 for the chair, with what we called per meeting compensations. The salary is now going to go to $18,000 for a regular commissioner, $19,000 for vice chair, and $20,000 for a chair, and the per meeting compensations will no longer be and everything. So it'll probably come out to be kind of a wash for most commissioners. Some commissioners will definitely take a little bit of a hit by just having no per meetings and everything, and then some will benefit by it. So that's all I have right now, and I did promise Supervisor Blonshine I would be there tonight because Commissioner Seifert can't be out there to report. But does anybody have any questions or comments or anything? Okay. Well,
Thanks, Brad.
have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and be safe out there, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Next up is the sheriff's report.
Hello, Roy Rasko with the Sheriff Department. The stats that I'm still able to get are still pretty limited. We had Garfield Township accounted for the 4 drunk driving arrests last month and 46 criminal arrests. Total criminal arrests for the entire county, including the city, was 139, and so Garfield accounted for 46 of those. Over the last month, and Deborah might have touched base with on this, I had 2 different weeks where I was off last month and a week this month. So Deputy Abraham, who's the Acme Township Community Police Officer, worked with the Great Wolf Lodge, and they did a total active shooter training scenario thing with all the employees of the Great Wolf Lodge, and it went really well. Green Lake Township CPO and the Acme Township CPO got together with the Great Wolf Lodge and took care of that. They were all very appreciative. Deputy Core, who was assigned to West Senior High, is still very much loved out there. The kids love her, the teachers love her, the parents enjoy having her there, all staff and admin. She had an opportunity to go to a child forensic interviewing course down in Holland. She spent 3 days there, and she also went with Deborah St. Croix, who's also a Garfield Township deputy. And so they both got 3 days of training with child forensic interviewing. And then Deborah and Luke is another Garfield Township CPO, both went to advanced fingerprinting, which was down in Livonia, and they spent 2 days down there in that advanced class. Luke, Deborah, Cole, and Brad have all been real busy with accidents, and fraud complaints are what seemed to just bury those 4 deputies for the township. Luke recently worked on a case at one of the AFC homes up off of Lafreniere where one of the residents initially they thought she fell in the parking lot, had substantial injuries, and come to find out, one of the employees actually had backed over the lady. Luke was able to do some follow-up. It took him a couple weeks, but Luke was eventually able to get the employee there to admit that she ran the lady over. So he's been working on that, and then our relationship with Kings Court and Meadow Lanes has been great. They call us, we call them, and it's been a good working relationship, so that's been good. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, GT Metro Fire Report. Chief?
Good evening, Paul Mackin, Grand Traverse Metro Fire. I'll start with the incident report. First page is the Garfield Township Metro NFIRS incidents for November. Starting out with medical assists, we had 251 for Garfield, 339 total in Metro. Emergency medical, I'm sorry, hold on. Yep, all right, you got the right one. Emergency medical service other, 34 within the township, 54 of a total, and so on. We kind of dropped there after dispatch canceled en route in 28 and 43, so you can see there. Our total for the month for the Township of Garfield was 370 incidents of the total 532 within Metro. Turning the page to the pie charts with the breakdown between townships. Of that 532 total, again, 371 within Garfield, 70% of the calls were there, followed by East Bay, 21% of the calls at 111 incidents. Acme Township at 8% with 46 incidents, and then we had 4 incidents outside the area assisting other agencies. Our breakdown by station, Station 11 kind of leading, which is pretty common, 30% of the incidents, followed by Station 1, 28% of the incidents, Station 12 with 22%, Station 8 with 12%, and Station 9 with 7% of that total. Moving on to the Garfield Metro side-by-side of the EMS complaints. As usual, we lead with falls, 54 in the township, 74 total in Metro. Invalid assist or lift assist for people that have difficulty getting back up, 34 within the township, as opposed to 44 within Metro. And followed by difficulty breathing at 33, cardiac issues 19, and so on. A number of other there, and then down at the bottom, 1 stab gunshot penetrating wound. That wasn't within the township. So 333 of those medical incidents within the township as opposed to the 460 total within Metro. Back to our NFIRS reports, we did have a couple fire incidents within the township. On the 16th of November, we did have a small fire in an apartment behind the Geyer's liquor store on North Garfield. That was pretty quickly extinguished. There was some smoke damage throughout the building there. We also had a fire earlier in the month on the 9th at Geraldton Place. There was a small kitchen fire within Kings Court. So 1 occupant was transported for smoke inhalation on that incident. Concludes the incident reports. Just a couple highlights, if you will, things that are going on within Metro. Last month, we did streamline our probationary part-time process for our part-time personnel. We did that to streamline it so it didn't take so long to get them trained and get them working shift. So that went very well. We're doing much better at filling our part-time shifts, kind of streamlining that and not spending so much time with that. So we're pretty happy to see the schedule, for the most part, almost completely full. So that's working well. We did have our recent probationary full-time member. That individual, unfortunately, resigned from the department following a counseling session. There was a kind of a poor decision involved, and it was in the best interest of Metro and the individual that can separate employment. So with that, we've exhausted our full-time eligibility list, so we're conducting a full-time test to establish that eligibility list and fill that vacancy. Some other kind of unfortunate news, but we're happy for her. Jennifer Froelich, our fire and life safety educator, is going to be moving on from Metro. She took a position with a nearby commercial company, Cherry Republic. She's going to be working for them, doing some training and everything closer to home, some other benefits that'll work better with her. So she's going to be leaving at the end of December. We're currently recruiting for her replacement, which is an important position within Metro. We don't expect to have anyone until maybe February. So in the meantime, Chief Belcher is going to continue to oversee the schedule, and we're going to utilize our public education assistants to continue some of our programs. But it's important that we get that person filled. Also, Jennifer has got a lot of ties to the programs. She's going to stay loosely involved a little bit. There's a few things she wants to still stay involved in, and obviously we'd love to have her to continue to do that. So a little bittersweet, but we know it's a good opportunity for her. We're currently completing our assistance firefighter grant applications. We're doing two, one for safety and operations. After reviewing an OFO and some of the criteria, our best chances are replacing our AEDs or monitors in all our vehicles. We want to replace all of them because of the age of them. And then we had received a couple new Lucas devices, which were aged as well, one through the 2% grant and then one through Firehouse Subs grant. So we were going to replace the rest of those. So that application, that project will be just around $100,000 for that. And then we're also going to submit, it's extremely competitive, but we're going to submit to potentially replace an engine. So we'll always try and pursue that. Again, they're highly competitive, but figure we have a better shot at trying to replace an engine based on the age of that vehicle. We did receive that Lucas device from Firehouse Subs. It's currently in service on Engine 11 on Veterans Drive. And additionally, last month I may have mentioned that we had declared some of our older or surplus apparatus surplus, and we had planned to sell them through a broker so that we can get that money and earmark it for future apparatus purchases. Happy to report that's going extremely well. One truck is sold, completely sold, went out to West Virginia. Another truck will be picked up. It was going to be picked up this evening after the meeting, but because of the weather, they're going to pick it up in the morning. That is sold. And then the other two trucks are under contract with deposits. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have that done. And the proceeds, if they close, everything goes well, we'll have $553,000 to use to put into our public improvement fund as having them earmarked for apparatus replacement, so future purchases. So that way we can have that money, grow that, invest that. By the time that equipment comes, we'll be able to put money down on those, and then obviously use financing for the rest. But we're pretty happy about that, but I'll be coming to you in the future after I go through the board for any approvals that would involve or require any financing for future purchases. So that's all I have to report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the chief?
No? Okay, I have a feeling I'll be back. All right.
Not at this time, maybe. Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Planning Department monthly report for December.
In the packet. Here comes another planner.
Good evening. Steve Hannon, Deputy Planning Director. We submitted our report in writing, which is in your packet. We'll hit some of the highlights, and if you have any questions, just let me know. The Planning Commission met once in November, November 6th. They did not have a study session in either November or December, and they also meet tomorrow. So some of the things on their agenda has been Angel Care Child Care going into the Church of the Living God to do a childcare at that existing church. That was approved with conditions at the November meeting. Tower North proposing a cell tower. This had been tabled for a while. The initial location they had proposed was not going to meet some of the setback requirements for cell towers. They've regrouped, resubmitted some drawings that Plan Commission will take a look at tomorrow. And most likely there would be a public hearing at some point, most likely in January for that one. Several things at Cherryland Center that will be continuing to be reviewed by Plan Commission tomorrow, and then there's a couple public hearings as well, one for the Copper Ridge PUD proposing an amendment, and one for Cherryland Humane Society also proposing an amendment. Staff has been doing a lot of administrative reviews. There's been quite a few of like renovations or smaller projects, so we've handled quite a few administrative reviews for various developments. And then some other projects that we're working on. I'm looking at building a GIS database of the streetlights in the township. We last did this project back in about 2020, so getting an update on where do we have all the streetlights, who operates them. We have 3 between Traverse City Light and Power, Cherryland Electric, and Consumers. So getting data from all those entities, and also working with our assessor on how are some of these funded. There's some that are done through assessments, some that the township pays for, so trying to just wrangle all that data together is going to be an ongoing project here in the next month or 2. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Looks like I got a busy meeting tomorrow night, Molly.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you.
All right, Parks and Rec report.
Mr. Supervisor, that's in writing, and if anybody has questions that I'll try to answer. If not, I can get the answers and get them to you.
Clerk's report.
I've submitted the clerk's report in writing. Does anybody have any questions regarding the clerk's report? Okay. We've just been busy wrapping up the year, waiting to hear when we're going to get audited, or if we're going to get audited. The county clerk seems to think it's a when instead of a if, so we get audited at, it's supposed to be a random audit after every election by the state of Michigan. I get audited every time, seems to be, so we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed, hopefully we don't, but it'll be happening in December, beginning of January if we do.
Any questions for the clerk?
Questions?
All right, moving on. Township Manager's report.
So I put a little memo in front of you, just as kind of notes as I go through some things I've did over the past several weeks. Just hitting some highlights. So I had a meeting, or the MTA meeting recently at Cherry Capital Airport. They went over the history of the airport, and I learned that the airport used to be at the cemetery just up the road. That's where it all started. So it was kind of neat history to learn. Didn't know that. They covered general reports, and then the MPAR grants that we've submitted for in the past, where we got security cameras for our parks. That is opening up between February 1st and March 15th. So if you have anything that you're interested in us seeking to pay for with their grant, let me know, and I can certainly seek that. So we got a little time to figure out what we might want, but just wanted to throw that out there. Met with the MDOT manager and engineer recently, just to establish a connection with them and build on what Chuck has already started. They did a little orientation of their department for me. We reviewed their 5-year plan and answered some questions that we had. So, we told them it was important that we collaborate as we go forward, so we can be hopefully on the same page with projects that are going to be completed in our township. I met with the road commission manager, engineer, and operations staff. Again, building on a relationship. We discussed the Frankie Road improvements that look to be maybe taking place in 2026. They're going to try to find some funds to improve that road. They talked about individuals advocating for lowering the speed. There's concerns with the Montessori school there and the safety of the kids. So we had a lot of discussion on how we could improve that area. But any improvements most likely wouldn't occur till 2027 2026. I reached out to them about streetlights just to figure out standards. Early on in my job, I got a request for a streetlight because an intersection was unsafe. So what to use for a standard to have one erected? Does the road commission do it? Do we do it? So I'm just trying to learn more about that, and they answered some questions. And then we also talked about a corridor improvement authority, maybe establishing that as a funding mechanism for a corridor in South Airport. So to the next bullet point, I met with Michigan Economic Development Corporation, point of contact at the state. Before Chuck left, he had tasked John Syke with connecting with them, which I sat through an interview or meeting. And what we learned is that you can have a corridor improvement authority and designate a certain area that you can capture tax dollars for improvements. And it would be, for instance, South Airport, maybe from Cass Road all the way to Town Line, to reduce access in and out of commercial areas, to improve safety, capture money for enhancements at Logan's where the river comes through, to improve that area. We have the airport, which is obviously going to expand here fairly quickly, and there's going to be a lot of traffic in the future running up and down South Airport. And as we've learned in past meetings, the bridge that a lot of us would like to see happen to lessen the traffic on South Airport is probably a distant dream that will never come true. So the road commission told us that we better start planning on alternatives, which would be improving South Airport, improving Cass Road. So this CIA would be part of that effort. So just throwing that out there, we're going to learn more about it, and I'll report to the board in the future if that's something that you want to establish and use that as a tool. Tomorrow I have a meeting with the director of the County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I've never met her, so going to just connect with her to build a relationship. She's going to educate me on Brownfield, and Steve will be there tomorrow with me. And she's going to show us a tentative guideline list that they're going to use at the county level for projects. So that way there's some consistency in how they approve them. So they've been working on this for quite some time, and it's going to be brought to the county for approval fairly quickly. One thing I've learned is we approve brownfield plans here. The Brownfield Authority has to do it, and so does the county board. So to me, it kind of makes sense that we collaborate together and be on the same page, so that way, if we're approving it here, it doesn't get derailed at the county level. At least some level of cooperation and maybe working within some set guidelines. So, so as I learn more about this, I'll bring it back to the board and educate you on that. Thanks to Laney and her efforts to get a new IT company with High Tech, we've been able to upgrade several computers at the township to bring them up to latest technology standards and improve our security. High Tech has been great to work with, responsive, so I think that was a good choice to switch to that company. Today we switched our email domain to a .gov, which improves the security. And we will still be able to give out the TWP in the .gov, and we'll still get emails. It's just when we send them out, you'll start seeing them from .gov. So as we work through this project, I started thinking about when I was a trustee and I had a personal email address that the community used, would it make sense to get .gov for the trustees? So that way you can separate your township business from your personal business, because, in the days of FOIA, you like to separate those. And I don't know, I got a lot of township business through my personal email because that's all we used. I am waiting to hear what the cost is per license, and I will have to come back to the board for approval to go that direction if you want me to. But I think that might be a good idea. And then one other thing is the new sick time law that is going to take effect in February. That impacts us because our current handbook allows us to put sick or personal time off into employee banks in January. They're allowed to use them throughout the year. The new law says that employees have to accrue at least 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. So if you front load it you could still be held to the accrual part, meaning somebody could get more of a PTO benefit than the handbook would allow them. So what I believe we should be doing fairly quickly is getting the personnel committee together, talking about this, coming back to the board for just maybe an amendment to the personal time part of the handbook in the short term, and then, adjust the handbook in the future as needed. But that should get done fairly quick because, January 1, we're going to have to change. We've also heard that the law may not proceed as it's written, and the accrual part might go away. They might say if you want to front load it, that's fine, you don't have to accrue it, but that isn't the case today, so we need to plan for what we know. We can certainly, I kind of feel personally that if it's a good benefit to give it up front, because somebody could be sick a lot, and then rather than not having any time. And I think most people who you talk to feel if you, made it accrue over the year, that's actually going backwards in a benefit for some. So anyways, we'll be coming back to you regarding this fairly soon. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Chris. Supervisor report. Karen wasn't able to twist my arm enough to get it in writing, so just two main points. Attended a road commission meeting a week or so ago, and it was a multi-jurisdictional meeting with the utilities to really talk about the impact that's going to be on the entire community when they prepare for do the utility work on the M22, M72 roundabout in Graylickville, out there in front of Tom's West Bay. Pretty extensive, so that unless the timeline changes, basically the M72 will be closed to through traffic from about Gray Road all the way. You won't be able to go through that intersection for the month of January. It'll be closed down for about a month. They're very extensive and confusing and complicated set of detours. Metro, I know, was there and represented in that because the utilities and the emergency response is really important how we deal with that. But for example, I know, westbound M72 traffic will be routed up Cedar Run to Gray out to 72. But eastbound traffic will be going down Tilton Road to Cedar Run, so there's not a lot of overlapping traffic. There'll be temporary signals at Gray and Cedar Run, temporary signals there, excuse me, and then also just a variety of different things they're going to be doing there. They're like Harris Road will be shut down. What was the other one, Chris? You were there with me. What was there? Harris Road was going to be closed, and one other one. So you couldn't use those as workarounds to get around those areas. So there's quite a lot of disruption there. Barney, closing Barney and closing Harris to through traffic during that time as well. So this is for the month of January, just for the utility work. They spent a lot of time explaining the complexities of the utilities that go through that intersection, not just DTE and not just electric, but all the fiber optics. There's a tremendous amount of utility that goes through that intersection. So they're basically going to build a big tunnel underneath that intersection to carry most of those utilities. A couple of the utilities couldn't get done in time. AT&T was one of them, so they're not going to be partnering in that tunnel. But it was pretty interesting meeting. And the actual construction of that intersection is later on by MDOT. So yeah.
So they're going to be closing M22 or
No.
M72?
M72. M22 north and south will remain open the whole time, one lane in each direction through that intersection. And even during the construction of the roundabout, the intention is to have M22 north and south open through the way. So the M22 won't be that would be a huge disruption north and south on M22. So 72, let's face it, if you're from the area, if you're coming in from anywhere in Lincoln County on 72, very few people go all the way down to the bay and use that intersection. They're taking Tilton, they're taking Gray now. So I don't think it's a huge disruption in that. And quite frankly, like I live on the west side. If I'm going out, I take Barney or Straight or something now. So the workarounds, a lot of people avoid that intersection now. So I don't think it'll be a huge, and then in January, it's in January. So, but the bigger disruption will be when the actual construction takes place in the summer.
And
So-
Joe, it's closed between where and where?
Well, through traffic, it'll be closed from Gray Road all the way to the bay. You'll still be able to access those buildings. Oh, and also, they're going to shut down Bay Street as well. They're going to shut down Bay Street as well. That'll be closed because they're going to run that utility tunnel will actually follow Bay Street, so that'll be completely shut down during that as well. So thankfully, most of that's all in the city, so it won't really,
Well, Bay Street, so along in front of the Elks, that's gonna be
not that far down. Bay Street that's
just
closer
the
to,
other,
yeah.
the other
yeah.
side. Okay.
So, a lot of information. I think most of the townships and response people were all there. It was pretty fascinating meeting, so. The other meeting I attended was the BPW meeting a week ago. To start out by saying I wasn't officially appointed to the BPW, so I couldn't vote. I was just there as a member of the public, and you've all passed a resolution to put me on that board, but that won't happen until the 18th when the county board meets. And the main, that meeting was really the interviewing for the director's position. So there's two candidates they're interviewing for that position, and they're going to make their decision. I believe it's this week. Is it Thursday, Chris? This 12th is at the BPW meeting? I apologize, not trying to put you on the spot. I just saw my calendar in front of you, the 12th, and I believe it's here
Yep.
at the township. So, so anybody who would like to see firsthand, or who gets the director's position, the interim director interviewed, and then a gentleman from out in Massachusetts, I believe, or Maine, somewhere out there
That's
interviewed.
Thursday when it's supposed to be 19 degrees.
Yeah, it'll be warm here though.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so again, and then that will be then in January, the first BPW meeting, I'll be able to participate more fully in those. So that's all I had. All right, moving on to unfinished business. Item A is public hearing. Public hearing on Resolution 2024-28-T Pren A to establish Logan Landing Road and Racket Club Drive Road Improvement Special Assessment District in order of preparation of special assessment roll. So, is anybody, Chris, did you want to kick this off, or is there
So, I don't know if we want Amy to come up here and talk before we have the public meeting, or hold the public meeting first.
if you'd like to, bring me for one person up to speed on this, that'd be great.
So this is one that started with Chuck, and I actually talking to one of the major property owners down there in Logan's Landing. And we're just really establishing the district tonight. They got all the property owners to sign interest. We got some bids from the road commission that Chuck had also asked Jennifer to take a peek and see what they thought. Theirs came in a bit higher, so our estimates here are quite high. I did hear from Jill today, and she's like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? That's way higher than, she went out and had her own estimates from Elmer's, and it was like 270,000. I'm like, yeah, they might not know all the situation over there. So, anyway, we're gonna probably have to have an informational meeting before we actually get this, roll part done, but tonight is just to establish the district so that we can move forward, get better estimates, and make sure that this is something they want to move forward with.
Okay. All right. Any
Did I say
questions?
that right, Mr. Korn?
Yes, you did.
Good.
All right, thanks, Amy, appreciate it.
And I did learn that some of the people, even though I hand-delivered all the notices to the post office on the 27th, remember I rushed to do that, some of them just got their notices yesterday. So,
27th of November?
yes.
All right.
Wow.
Well, this is a public hearing, so at this point, we will open the public hearing. So anybody wishing to speak to Resolution 2024-28-T Pren A, now is your time to come up and let us know what you have to say. Mike's not here for this, so. All right, well, I don't see anybody coming forward, so we'll close public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion or I'm assuming, Amy, would we take action tonight on approving this? Okay, so I'll bring it back to the board for questions, if not for somebody to take action.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-28-T, print the A, for establishing Logan Valley Road and Racquet Club Drive Road Improvement Special Assessment District in order of preparation of a special assessment roll.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and supported to adopt Resolution 2024-28-T, print A. Any further discussion on that? Is it a roll or just a general? Yeah, roll call vote, Ann, please.
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Ellen McManus.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
And Joe McManus.
Yes. All right, motion carries. Okay. Item 7B, public hearing, the Garfield Township budgets for 2025, general fund, fire fund, public improvement fund, public improvement road fund, budget stabilization fund, DPW fund, park system fund, streetlight fund, and special assessment district fund. So, Laney, I think you kind of spearheaded the budget. Anything you want to?
This is just a public hearing for it.
Okay.
We're going to approve the budgets later on.
All right. You mentioned the one had to be changed.
Well, there is one change on the budget. We're going to talk about the PAR plan later on. The PAR plan came in considerably higher than we estimated because of all of our different issues we've had this year. And so all the claims that have been made, it was $8,000 higher. So if you look at the one that has highlighted on here, the budget, on page 4, this is a, they're both expenditures, but I took $8,000 from the contingency fund, and I just put it down, moved it down to the insurance liability fund on page 6. They're both highlighted. The bottom of the budget stays the same, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that was a change that was made. It doesn't affect the overall budget. We had money in the contingency. I just moved it, so we don't have to do a budget amendment later.
Okay.
Because it's due due January 1st.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak to the budget or any of the funds within that budget, now's your time to come forward and let us know what you have to say. Quiet public tonight. It's kind of like a planning commission meeting. So, all right, we'll go ahead and close public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion, or we don't really approve this now. Do we approve the individual sections of it? Okay. Well, with no public comment, I guess we'll move on. So under new business, there was item C we removed from the, I don't know if it was still, I had an old, item C was dealt with last night, so that's not on the agenda tonight. And we move on to item 8A, which is consideration of approving the GTM ESA payment to East Bay Township for dorm room expansion at Station 9. And that's resolution 2024-30-T, and I believe,
I can
Chris, yeah.
speak to it, yep. So back in the summer, East Bay Township approached the Metro Board to contribute funds towards a remodel project at Station 9 of dorms. That project total was $181,698, and it was to improve the dorms there for staffing, to also include Metro firemen or people from the fire department who may need it. And also, now that you're seeing, also was mentioned that, you have females in firefighting, and, traditionally they had one dorm that was for males. Now they're having some conflict because you need separate male-female dorms. So that was an explanation of another need to expand. East Bay has a lease with Metro that indicates that Metro has to request permission to do improvements and alterations, and I've given you a copy of that lease in front of you and highlighted the improvement section. This, and Chief Mackin's here to answer questions too, and maybe you can step up to the podium. This isn't the Metro Fire Department coming to East Bay and asking for this. This is East Bay wanting to remodel and asking for the various townships who are part of Metro to contribute 50% of those costs. And then also have that be made in a 3-year cycle, starting in 2025, 26, 27, for $30,283 each year. So I had learned that Acme had approved a resolution to support that, and they're looking for, East Bay is looking for Garfield to support it in the way of our resolution. Now, at the board meeting, when it was brought up in the summer, it was discussed and then tabled, and then in the following meeting, there was a motion to put it in front of the townships for approval and not necessarily do it at the Metro Board level. So that's where we're at today, is, year of, Metro dollars paying East Bay back for that remodel project. That's not done yet. It's correct.
It's about done. Actually, our plan reviewer was over there today. They have a couple things with some strobes, a couple things within the system, but to my knowledge, those were the only outstanding things, and then it's done.
Okay.
So this is not Metro asking for this?
No.
East Bay asking for this?
This was a request from East Bay, and just a little bit more background. I don't have, this project started prior to my arrival, Chris is correct. It was a July 23rd GT board meeting when the motion was made to recommend that it move to the townships for approval. There was an idea or whatever that this was be split, because we would get benefit by getting an additional dorm out of it, and so would they. At the time when there was discussions of the finance, and again, I kind of came into this, and my position was, I had said, well, I'm a little bit of a planner when it comes to money. So we talked about it, and I had talked about the planning of it and the budget year, et cetera. So East Bay had suggested, well, why don't we, so we don't impact the Metro budget, why don't we break it up over 3 years in 3 payments? So if it would have been, say, the $90,849 would have been approved by the Metro Board, would have been put into the budget, approved in the budget process, and then approved through our budget at each of the townships, then it would be paid for within 1 year and it would be done. By asking it to be spread out over 3 years, it represents a future financial obligation to the townships. Therefore, the resolution from each townships agreeing to it is required. It's similar to when in the past when we've come to you for the purchase of a fire truck. We're asking, we're going to purchase this fire truck, we're going to, and then when it does arrive, we're going to finance it. So we need each of the townships to approve it, obviously starting with the Metro Board. So that's really was the essence of this project in terms of why it's coming back to the townships. It's because of the future obligations and payments. I will tell you just the 2025 payment of $30,283 was approved, and it is in the budget for 2025, so it's there. It's coming out of the Metro budget. Obviously, it wouldn't if it not approved this evening. However, the money is there, it's earmarked within the budget, and then obviously each year after, it would have to be included in the budget. Yes?
So was this part of Metro's plan to put this dorm on?
I can't, I wasn't there when this initiated, or when it was started. Part of the Metro plan initially was, and I agree with the concept of, each station should have 2 people. The only station that has 1 person right now is Station 9. They have one Metro firefighter, and then there's also East Bay EMS personnel there. And as Manager Barshev had mentioned, they were sharing, they put 2 dorms there, they were shared the cost at the time, and I don't know when that was, what year it was. Metro paid for half, East Bay paid for half, they each got 1. Then as staffing increased, they had started staffing 2 people in one of the dorms. At times, Metro would have 2 people in the dorms if we had additional staffing there. Right now, currently, we have 1 person there. And the plan for Metro was always, we want to work to get 2 people at each station, which I agree with. I understand that, and I would support that because 1 person in a fire station really isn't the way to staff. It's not most effective, it's not the safest. Currently, we were looking at our staffing. In the future, it'd be great to get there. Currently, we're staffing our stations each with 2. We did move our part-time position to Station 11 because we revised how we're training and clearing our part-time people, so we're getting that done in a more efficient manner. So now we almost have that part-time position staffed 24 hours a day. Each month, we're getting that almost at 100%. We have that at Station 11 because it's based on call volume, as you see in my report. That's where all our calls are. And if I can staff one of our engines or stations with a 3-person engine company to be most effective for fire suppression, et cetera, obviously it's going to be most beneficial where the call volumes are. So to answer your question, as far as what the plan was, the plan may have just been revised a little bit with the new administration. We're trying to look at what are the needs based on call volume, where do we need to put our people, and go from there. Will we immediately use this additional dorm? Not right at the moment, but the project was underway. Us having it at our disposal when we need it, it's not going to hurt us because as things evolve in the future, we could potentially shift part-time personnel there. I would say in the future as we grow, if we do add full-time people, I would probably put them in another station. Just because, and to be more direct about that, if I did get 1 additional full-time person a day, I would put them at Station 1 in Industrial Drive, and they would support us the ability to have that shift commander's position 24/7, 365, which is a greater benefit to all the townships that we're serving.
'Cause I'm looking at your pie chart here,
Mm-hmm.
and they have 7%
Yes.
of all the calls.
Mm-hmm.
So does that warrant 2 people there? I mean, would you
Right
need
now,
people?
we don't have additional staffing. When I had that additional, when we revised what we were doing with the part-time people, we shifted it to Station 11 because that's where the call volume is. In the future, ideally, it'd be great to get another person there, but I'm just being forthright with you. I don't know when that'll happen. I mean, in future, call volume's going to continue to grow in all the areas. But at the same time, these projects continually cost more and more and more. So,
Chuck, did you have a comment? You reached.
I did. So currently, we have 2 dorms with 1 bed in each. Is that the?
there's 2 dorms there. Prior to the remodel there, they had 2 dorms.
Right.
The remodel is adding 2 more. And we had 2 beds. I think there's 2 beds in each, even though we had 1 person there, because there were times when occasion we'd have 2. So 2 people technically sharing the 1 dorm. With the expansion, East Bay is going to pick up an additional dorm so they could separate people, and then we'll have another dorm at our disposal.
But it's driven by their EMS needs primarily at this point.
Right now, I would venture to say, I mean, again, I wasn't around for the decision-making on when that was, and I do know, and I don't want to speak for Chief Parker in the past, but I know it was in, as you've seen it in all the annual reports and the master plans. The intent was always, we want to get two at each station, which makes sense. So I think it's safe to say that, I think it's safe to say that, you know, there was a desire and a goal to have the ability to get two people at each station.
Yeah, Chloe.
So I'm just wondering, aside from being approved in the budget, was this remodel approved by the Metro Board before it started?
I don't believe so.
Because that makes a big difference to
Sure.
me. You know, did it just get put in the budget? Or was it actually approved by the board and Metro as a board agreed that this was a good project that would benefit all of Metro? That's my question.
It wasn't, to my knowledge, it wasn't brought up at a meeting prior. I know it was discussed. I know this project was delayed because of some issues with architecture. There was some issues with sprinkler systems being required by Metro Fire Prevention because of the dorm rooms and everything. So there was some delay. So I'm not 100% sure when this actually, the whole planning for this started, but it was definitely within 2023 at some point.
Yep.
Yes.
So, in reality, they went ahead with this dorm procedure without any okay from Metro. And now they're asking Metro for money after they've started it? And completed it?
The ask was in, I know it was approved in July, and I don't remember, there was a meeting, a couple meetings before that it was discussed.
What was
And it
approved
was-
in July?
July was, well, it was, the motion in July was to recommend for individual township approval.
They recommend, but it wasn't done.
Yeah, that was the motion. There was, I believe there was point to that.
Okay.
I don't think it was that strong. I think it was to send it to the
was
townships
sent-
for
okay.
consideration,
Okay,
not to actually recommend.
yeah, I'm just
There's some
reading it.
wordsmithing.
Yeah, I'm reading it how it was written. I didn't write it, but I remember being at the meeting.
Yeah.
I remember there was some deliberate, choice of words in terms of the motion.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
You talked about staffing, and you're short one full-time person now, correct?
Yes.
If you hired that other full-time person, are they then located at Station 9?
No, they're not. And that one person, when I originally was talking like one a day, one person a day is actually equates to 3 firefighters. 3 full-time firefighters. If I'm using full-time staffing, 3 full-time firefighters would equal 1 additional person a day.
Okay. So there isn't going to be 1 extra person there every day?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
So the consequences if we were to not approve this, what happens?
If it isn't approved, I believe it would, because this is a little bit uncharted territory, I guess it would go back for discussion at the Metro Board, and I'm not sure where it would go from there.
It probably should
I-
go down in defeat because you have to have all 3 in order
Yeah.
We
to.
have to have a positive vote from all
Right.
3.
Yeah, correct, actually, you're right. I mean, it wouldn't be approved, so it wouldn't happen. It would need your approval for that money to be spent in that manner.
Okay.
And then if it didn't, I hate to speculate, but I suppose if in the future, if we needed the dorm, we'd probably have to pay for it then or something, I don't know.
Cross that bridge when we come to it.
Any other questions for the chief?
Has this
First-
project started?
Yes, it started, yeah, it's almost done. I mean, it's essentially done.
But typically, when we do something at the stations, it comes from Metro administration. Says, we would like to do this, we would like additional room here, we would like to improve this facility. This started with East Bay Township. And
I see.
they went right ahead and did it, and then came and asked us to share in the cost.
Chloe, did you have a question or comment?
That was my question, what? And so is that how you understood it as happening timeline-wise as well?
I remember when I came to Metro or in early and was orientating in February, going to the station with Chief Parker, and there was discussion of the plans. And I believe at the time there was even, it might have been around the time when Chief Belcher was discussing the plan review. I know they were having some architectural delays at the time. So there was discussion of it. And there was, as I mentioned, there was some requirements for sprinkler systems, and there were some architectural delays and some other things that were going on. So to my knowledge, it was underway at the time.
It was discussed amongst the administration or the Metro Board?
No, that was administrative. That was just from those people. That
Administrative
wasn't,
part,
that was not
not
at the board level.
Okay.
I just want to say that I'm not going to support this, only because of the fact of the way things happened. I just feel personally that if we want something for, in Garfield Township, from Station 11 to Station 12, we go to the chain of command, which would be going to Metro first. And in my opinion, they undermined us and just went ahead and did it, and now they're asking for the money, and I do not appreciate that.
And Chuck, remind me, because in my mind, this idea has come up before, hasn't it? The same basic idea?
There was the existing building was declared uninhabitable by the fire marshal, so they had to change it in order to have two dorm rooms there several years ago.
When I was on the board, that got approved at the time.
But it was primarily to house EMS. It was for East Bay Ambulance at that time.
Right.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay, I'm just trying, I just remember this topic coming up in the past. It goes back a ways, so.
This is a separate project from that previous
It's an
project.
addition to it.
Okay,
It's a enlargement of the previous project.
got it.
I believe that was the first two dorms, and I don't know what was before that. I think it was the first two dorms that they split, and then this was the second two dorms to be split.
Yeah, Molly?
So I guess I don't know what East Bay was thinking, to just go ahead and start a project. They had to have been thinking in the back of their mind they were gonna be paying for it, because nobody had approved it. Correct? Am I thinking correct on that?
Maybe they
It's
thought
their building. They wanted to make the improvements. They went ahead and started the improvements and did them. And now they want to come back. Granted, you can get it in your budget. You're saying you can get it in your budget, but that's not usually the way we do business.
Yeah, and I don't remember the specific details, but I know it was early in the year when it was, because this has kind of been going on for a long time, that it was mentioned, and then in anticipation when we were doing draft budget, we budgeted for it, but again, obviously knowing it has to get approved, but we just planned knowing that it was going to be, there was a potential for it. So that's how it wound up in the budget. And again, it's kind of been a long process. Again, the motion was in July. There was discussions a couple meetings prior to that, to my recollection, one or two.
So it got put in the budget before, who put it in the budget? The Metro administration? Because if the board didn't know anything about it, how did it get into the budget?
I don't remember when the letter came. I'd have to look and see when the letter came, but it was mentioned, and that's how we put it in the budget.
In July, or was it prior?
No, prior to that. The budget was prior to that.
Chris, you have some insight on that?
I think Denise was at the meeting on June 25th where this was first discussed. And that's when it was tabled and then kicked off to the July meeting where the motion was made to take it out to the townships.
Right.
So I was not at that meeting. I don't know what the discussion took.
Well, it was kind of brought up at that time that they just wanted to ask Metro to pay for it, and then at that time, we said, this should be going to the townships individually, and this board should not be making that decision. We should have all of us discuss it in each individual board, and then decide. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at that meeting, it was said that if one township says no, then East Bay's gonna have to pay for it.
Would make sense. When is the Metro budget done? We're gonna approve Metro's portion of our budget. When do you guys write your budget?
We do it early. We had it done in, I apologize, we were working on it early in the year, like around
Started in
April.
July.
Yeah, and I think with the process of approval was July.
September 30th, it was done.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this was added in June or July for this upcoming budget.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
We're
in
doing budgets now.
anticipation. There were some other, and again, anticipated expenses, there's things that were put in there that was highlighted with our finance committee, et cetera, that the money's there, they're earmarks. There's money in there that was earmarked for some improvements at Acme, et cetera, but again, those projects are not finalized or approved.
Joe?
Yeah, Molly.
So there was no approval from anybody in July on this project, but it went into the budget anyway?
It went into the budget prior, yes, and it was disclosed to finance that those were in the budget as placeholders, and I believe, and I don't recall, but there were some members about what if those items are not approved, then that money will remain in public improvement.
Yeah, and I believe it was a third of the amount
It was 30,000.
each year for 3 years.
Yes, it was. It was the $30,283.
It's a whole project.
But in order to commit the board for a new board, it has to go to a vote. I mean, you just, at the board, at the local boards.
Right.
So that's where the plan went awry.
So I'm just speaking hypothetically, but not really. If we were to not approve this, and in the future, and East Bay's already built it and owns it, in the future, you actually need dormitory space there, then you just have to negotiate with East Bay and start paying rent at that point, probably on future needs.
Probably something
Potentially.
along those lines. I'm sure it would, there'd want to be some.
$1 a year typically is what they pay
Payback.
for rent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just,
We don't charge, right? We don't charge for.
We charge $1.
Which we've never seen. I'm in charge of finance, just
I just,
saying.
Yeah, no
all
problem.
right, so.
Yeah.
I guess, well, thank you, Chief, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the hot seat behind you will get
Yeah.
down at some point, but thank you,
Yeah.
and Chloe, yeah.
Just one more thing, I was just wondering if, because in the lease, and maybe this needs to be updated in all the leases,
Yeah.
but it only addresses if Metro desires to make the structural alterations and improvements. It doesn't address if it's initiated by a township, and I think maybe that needs to be more clear in here. Somehow, if a township's initiating it, how is it gonna be paid for?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know, should the township pay for it if they're initiating it? It almost seems like that's how it should be, but I was just thinking this
It
doesn't
could
address
very
the
well be,
situation.
but it also has to come through, all of it, and I'm 100% comfortable with it. I mean, ultimately, each township, each board, you're the decision makers. And you have a responsibility to your constituents. The choices are yours. We'll provide the information. So ultimately, if for some reason, and Garfield's EMS is provided through MMR, so you're probably going to build things, but if they wanted to add another station or add another ambulance and needed it, and Garfield wanted this, then Garfield would bring it to us, and then we would discuss, our board would discuss it.
MMR is building a station
Yeah.
in Garfield.
Yeah,
Their own.
so, yeah, probably a bad example, I apologize, but
Sorry.
ultimately would have to go to approval. It definitely would.
So what's your pleasure?
I will not support it.
You want a resolution in favor, and then we can all vote, and it can be voted up or down? What would you like?
I mean, if we vote on the resolution, you could make a motion to approve the resolution, and then if it's all a no vote, it would be rejected, or would we not do
We
that?
just make a motion to not approve it.
Yeah. I make a motion that we do not approve Resolution 2024-30-T.
Support.
Motion was made and supported to not approve Resolution 2024-30-T, the funding of dormitories at Station 9. Any further discussion on that motion? We'll go ahead and make that a roll call again, Ann.
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Agostinelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
And McManus.
Yes. And a yes vote is to vote no. So, thank you, Chief, for your
Thank you for
time. I appreciate
consideration.
it.
That's what is to vote no, right?
Yes, vote is to vote no. Okay, item 8B, consideration of the Stormwater Control Ordinance, number 49, Amendment 1, introduced and scheduled public hearing for January 14th at our regular town board meeting. So in your packet is that ordinance. I don't know, if Chris, you have any information on this one or not?
Mike
Green
Green
is at the count.
will,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah,
Did you jump up
that's
there?
fine,
Thank
here.
you. I was going to say we're in the dark. Go for it.
All right, well, Michael Green, zoning administrator for the township. So this is a amendment, as the report you have suggests. Just a little background beyond what's on paper here, just so you understand why we're asking for this. Chris and I, John Syke and myself had a meeting with Andy Smits and our engineers at Gordy Fraser over the current language. Andy Smits was really the one that spearheaded this conversation, but his concern was that the current ordinance, when it was originally adopted in 2007, it had reference to the county drain commissioner, which I guess at the time this was adopted, the drain commissioner ran the program on behalf of the township. So at some point, we took over the duties of enforcing and administrating this ordinance, but the language was never updated to reflect that. So this amendment's just trying to catch us up to where we should, or where we are now, just catch the language up to what we're doing now. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Mike? Yeah.
there's a plan to rewrite this whole thing, right? But this just corrects
Yes.
some
yes.
language today.
Right.
It points to the proper authority to handle issues within it, whereas before it pointed to entities that didn't exist. So it's just to clean it up, and then we're going to come back with a whole new rewritten ordinance. So Andy Smits asked if we could address this first, and then, like I said, come back and rewrite it.
And we have staff that's getting involved in soil and erosion now, correct?
Yep. We're on the beginning of it, yep. And you'll learn
Right.
more about it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we amend 1 to Garfield Township Ordinance 49 as attached to the report be scheduled, for public hearing on January 14th,
I'll second it.
2025.
Motion made and supported to schedule a public hearing for consideration of ordinance 49, the stormwater control ordinance, and scheduled for a public hearing on January 14th, 2025. Any further discussion on that?
If we could strike somehow 1C, commercial use development. So if somebody has a store and they have a mailbox, and they have to dig a hole to put the the mailbox in, they have to get a permit because it's commercial use and they're disturbing the soil.
Doesn't it later on, though, give
Where's
you
that at, Chuck?
approval to put a mailbox in without
That's
approval?
1C, section 1C.
Is it? Okay.
It does. I think later it addresses the same thing.
All right. I feel
That might
better.
be residential, but I did see the part in there about a mailbox.
Which page, Chuck?
Right on the front page, it says 1C, when you have to get a permit is when you disturb 1 or more acres, you're within 500 feet, or a commercial use development.
Right. Yeah, we had talked about it. Chuck was involved with some earlier conversations about this, and And we had talked about that. I'd also talked about some changes to the, some of the other applicability standards in there. One was the residential, but, you know, if you want to address some of this now, we can certainly amend the language for the public hearing. But, you know, our intent was just to address the references, but, you know.
There are a few things in the soil erosion ordinance that I don't agree with either. But rather than going through and addressing each one of those, I mean, for example, so you've got an acre of land, if you only disturb 100 feet of it, do you need it even though you have an acre of land? You know, those kinds of issues. But I think go ahead and follow the drain commissioner's suggestion that we do this rewrite now, but then when you do the big one, then
Right.
lots of things we could pick out.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely more to be done. That's why we want to do a more comprehensive rewrite of this stormwater ordinance, so, yeah.
You okay with just waiting for the full rewrite to make those adjustments now?
Well, our staff's going to be involved in that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So at that time, when you're doing the rewrite, if there are things that you want to do, but I think this follows pretty closely Grand Traverse counties and what's handed down from the state, so
Right.
I think before we start.
All right. Well, we have a motion, and it was supported to schedule this for public hearing on the 14th of January. Any further discussion on that? Roll or just general?
Just,
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Planning Commission, everything's just done in that way. We don't spend much money, though, so I guess that's probably part of it. Okay, next one, and this might be Mike again. Consideration of soil and erosion ordinance number 78, introduced and scheduled public hearing for January 14th, 2025 at our regular township board meeting.
All right. So this is a culmination of a almost 2-year process, actually. Some of you might remember. It started with the presentation of a draft ordinance that was brought to this board on January 4th, 2023, which was meant to start the process of taking over soil erosion from the county, or at least providing our own program within the township. Right now, the county does soil erosion countywide, except for, I think, the city of Traverse City. So we would become the second municipality to have our own soil erosion program within the county. So, so after that, after the board approved the language of the ordinance, staff, we went through and we created some permits and forms, created the fee schedule. I think we brought the fee schedule along with the ordinance back in January 2023. But we went through a long process of putting all these forms and applications together and other information, and we submitted it to the state of Michigan through the Department of Eagle. I don't know what it stands for, but it's their environmental department, and they went through a 3-month review. They contacted the drain commissioner, contacted the health department, who does the soil erosion now, and the Soil Conservation Service for Grand Traverse County. So they were given an opportunity to comment. The only ones that comment was the Health Department. Brett Wheat was the director, or is the director. He provided some comments. He was generally supportive, just had some suggestions on how we handle fee schedules and things like that. So otherwise, they were okay. So the state, hearing no negative comments, they gave us a conditional approval to do soil erosion, asked us to make some revisions to our draft ordinance and the fee schedule. So we did those edits, sent it back to the state, and we got a final approval last Wednesday. So since we were already introducing the stormwater, I talked to Chris. He agreed to go ahead and put it on your agenda for tonight for an introduction as well. So that's pretty much the background. there's a lot of moving parts to this. You know, we got the fee schedule. I've been talking to Laney and Chloe about the accounting part of it, making sure we're handling the money correctly, and taking the fees and making sure it goes in the right accounts and whatnot. So we have the staffing for it. Jamie Douglas and myself, we have the certification to do stormwater plan review and inspection, so we can do all of it. We can do everything. We also have Carl Stadzinski. He's certified as an inspector. I think we're talking about maybe getting Brian, our new building inspector, certified, and maybe one or both of our code enforcement officers as well as an inspector. As an inspector. Sorry. So that way we can kind of spread the work around, because we're all in the field doing different work. So we can, go and do routine inspections, handle any complaints that come in and things like that. So that's our work plan. I'm working with Mike Steffies. He's developing a GIS interface for us. So when people get on our website, they can see the soil maps, the contours. We have a map of all the 1 foot contours. I think we're going to go to 2 foot contours, so it's not too much data for them to look at and doesn't take an hour to load on a computer. So we're working out some things like that. We're hoping to create an interface where someone can go on there, not just figure out what their soil types are, but maybe figure out whether they may be within that 500 feet buffer to a water body. Also print maps that have some of the information. So if a homeowner comes in with a permit and a drawing, they can create something a little more to what we require them to have. So we understand this is a lot on a property owner, someone that's not a engineer or architect, or someone that doesn't have the resources to hire them to provide the level of information that we would have to have from them, because there's certain things that we have to have. You can't just draw a little map and say, this is my soil erosion plan. So, there's some projects require contours, some require soil tapes, direction of drainage as proposed versus what's current. So there's a lot of that kind of thing we're trying to get ahead of. So when we start administering this, there's not a lot of problems. So that's pretty much it. Chris, you want to fill in any holes if I forgot anything?
No, this all started with Chuck before he changed seats. Taking this on and the reasons behind it were very good. I just want to make sure that we're well organized when we start doing it. Meeting with the county and figuring out what things are they going to handle, and then, picking a date moving forward, this is going to be ours. So I just want to make sure we're organized before we just move ahead and don't regret doing something the wrong way. So I think we're going about it the right way from what I'm seeing.
Motion?
Yeah, it looks like Eagle gave its blessing. Did you make the one correction Eagle suggested?
Yes.
That's been made? Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that Garfield Township Ordinance Number 78, as attached to this report, be scheduled for a public hearing on January 14th, 2025, Township Board regular meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and supported to schedule soil and erosion ordinance number 78 for public hearing on January 14th, 2025. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item D, consideration of River East Recreation Area Playground curbing proposal. I believe Chris is going to talk this one.
So the board approved the purchase of a playground set to be installed at River East through Game Time Sinclair Recreation. And during that planning process, getting proposal and talking with the company, it was realized that there should be some sort of a barrier between the underlayment that would be below the structure and separating that from the ground around it, the grass and whatnot. And typically, they just use concrete. When it's talked about a curbing, it's not a curb. It's a low-level little transition piece. So Derek received 3 bids, and you have them in writing in front of you. And Derek, he and I discussed Game Time being a little bit more. but we feel like we should go with them because they're the company who's actually installing this, and they're the ones who would actually be installing the curbing, the concrete curbing. So, as you know, with hard to find staffing and conflicts with schedules, this just allows one company to plan, schedule, and come in, put the curbing in, put the underlayment in, and then put the playground on top of it. It just makes it seamless. And I think that the difference between the low bid and that is well worth the efficient way of it being installed.
One of the concerns that the Parks and Rec Commission was too is because of the fact with mowers and weed trimmers and stuff like that. If we didn't have anything like that, that could damage that underlayment that we have underneath the playground equipment. And unfortunately, when this all came about a couple months ago, we didn't think of that.
Yep.
So that's why it's extra.
Any other questions?
No question, but it makes sense to me to use the same contractor and keep that through for the extra $2,000. I think it's fine not to take the low bid.
And they can be able to do it at the same time they put the equipment up too.
Correct.
So.
It'll be, yeah.
I make a motion that we have Game Time Sinclair Recreation do the playground curbing proposal in the cost of $12,478.
Support.
Motion made, supported to go with the bid from Game Time Sinclair Recreation to install the curbing around the River East new playground area. Any further discussion on that motion?
Is that authorization for me to go ahead and enter an agreement with them, or do you prefer the supervisor to sign that?
You want to hear the vote first?
Yep.
Would you like to amend the motion to have him authorize that?
It's up to you.
That's fine.
I amend the motion to allow our township manager to authorize that.
Chloe, you okay with the second on that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Motion made and supported. Any further discussion on that? Ian, do we have a roll call on that?
Let's see, who did I have here? I had Schmuckel,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Lapp,
Yes.
Laney McManus,
Yes.
Corn,
Yes.
Gustinelli,
Yes,
and Joe McManus.
Yes. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Chris has been handling that one all along, so she's just as easy as he just keeps handling it.
Absolutely. Keep
Okay.
forgetting we have to do that now.
Yeah. Consideration of approving, item E, consideration of approving the final ARPA spending plan and allocating $358,483.72 to the township's 2024 sheriff's contract. I believe Chloe's she brought this to us at the budget meeting. I think we have, any other comments on that, or just?
Nope, this is just what we discussed, in order to spend and obligate the money by the end of the year. We're putting the remaining balance to the penny to our sheriff's contract. And that will free up general fund money. But Laney's gonna do the necessary general ledger transactions and.
Since it's approved, I'll do the general ledger.
Yeah, once it's approved, yep, and so then we will be all set, and our auditor has given us instructions, and we're good to go, so we just need it approved.
I make a motion to approve the final ARPA spending plan and to approve allocating $358,483.72 to the township's 2024 sheriff's contract.
I second that motion.
Motion made and supported to approve the final ARPA spending plan and allocating the remaining funds to the sheriff's contract for 2024. Any further discussion on that motion? Ann, could we have a roll call on it?
Schmuckel,
Yes.
Corn,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Lapp,
Yes.
Augustinelli,
yes.
McManus,
Yes.
and McManus.
Here, yes, not here, yes.
I hope you're here.
Present, I guess, something like that. Okay, item F, consideration of submitting an opinion to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission on the application of High Tops TC LLC.
So I'll speak to this too. So I'll take you way back to August 8th of 2023, when we had to make a decision on who to award our quota license to. We decided to award it to High Tops, and the plan was to go into the Grand Traverse Mall, where he was going to run like a sports bar. The applicant then changed the license location, we approved that, to go to the Cherryland Center, which at the Planning Commission, there was a lot of concerns from the residents in that area about the noise that it would create. So the applicant then looked at other alternatives, and he, I believe he said he signed a lease with the Yonkers section of the mall, so that way it could be contained in the middle and the noise issue could be not an issue. He still talked about putting some sort of spray foam to reduce noise even further than like separating the building the way he is. There's nothing at the planning department as far as plans for this new location in Yonkers. There's just discussion. And he recently withdrew his application for the original Cherryland location. So at this point, we don't have a plan in our planning department of what he's going to do, other than a verbal concept. And the liquor control, they have an approved Class C license because of us awarding it to him. And he's also added some other permits onto the original Class C, which they can do. So it looks like he wants to add onto the license again, and we have a chance to give an opinion. It says that the commission shall consider the opinions of local residents, local legislative body, or local law enforcement agency with regard to the proposed business when determining whether an applicant may be issued a license or permit. So in this letter, new bar Sunday sales, new Sunday sales per. So my understanding is that he wanted a dance and entertainment and extended hours onto his current license. And, my thoughts are, and just to give you my opinion, is that, somebody came to us a year ago with a concept, and we gave our quota license to that person for that reason. And it's changed significantly over time, and if we had him come in front of us today, with the Yonkers plan or the plan at Cherryland, would we have approved that? So he can still move forward with this plan of going into Yonkers, as long as he goes through our planning department and all the approvals, and the liquor control approves his move to yet another location. We can submit a letter to liquor control saying that, all these things have changed since day one. We don't support this. He hasn't complied with all of our zoning and requirements. We can do that. Or we can choose just to kind of let this continue. I've got a request in the licensing division to find out what we can do. Is that something that we can pull back and put that quota license on a shelf and say, Mr. Bueller, someday when you come to us with plans again and you go through the process, we're just going to put it on a shelf and then we'll give it back to you. I don't have the answer to that today, so I can't give you any guidance. No.
He's going to have to come back to us before the Liquor Commission approves it with another change of address.
He will.
And our board could approve or disapprove it at that time. But he has to have the proper address on that permit
He does.
before, and that has to come back to our board.
Before he starts selling alcohol in a location, it's got to be approved.
Right, with the correct
Address. And we approved the move from Cherryland, or from Grand Traverse to Cherryland a few months ago, I think.
Molly?
You were on the
So
planning
this
commission.
address is for.
Planning
Traverse
commission
Old
has-
Cherryland.
We've actually approved 2 addresses at Cherryland already.
Yeah.
Guys,
Molly-
he called on Molly.
Molly has the floor.
The planning commission has worked with Mr. Bueller, all the way through this. And things were transferred from Cherryland Mall over to, or from the Grand Traverse Mall over to the Cherryland Mall. That just kind of happened. And he didn't have approvals, final approvals, with the planning commission at the Cherryland Mall, but yet we went ahead and let him do that. So I just want to make sure that we're navigating this properly. If we've done it already once, we do it again. There is no guarantee that the planning commission will approve anything. Right now, at the Cherryland Mall, for an extended hour nightclub, with the residential all the way around it, those people are
Not happy.
pretty organized and not happy about it. And we do need to listen to the residents. It's not a use by right to do that. So, so I guess before we start saying, let's make sure that we're not going to get in trouble for doing it that way, when we've already done it a different way.
I like
The
the
attorney,
idea of
maybe?
Chris researching to find out what our options are.
Yep.
Because, I wasn't here when this was originally awarded, but, it's a very valuable thing. It's a very valuable license to own, and it can be marketable at some point, and so I don't, if it's not being, I think we have other applicants that wanted it. There are probably other applicants that would execute it maybe quicker if they had it. So I don't think we're at risk having Chris research and see what our options
Right,
are.
right.
But
agree.
yeah, to Molly's point, I haven't seen that kind of a blowback of a proposal come, the amount of public that showed up, but that was with the entrance on the west side of the Cherryland Center, and all the residents on both the, west and north sides of the mall came out in droves. We didn't let them turn it into a circus, but they wanted to. They had their signs and they're all ready to go. So I certainly think that it's far from finalized, and I think it's appropriate to have them at least find out from the Liquor Control Commission what we can do.
Yeah, and just a question is, since we've already awarded it to him, can he keep it in perpetuity, can he keep it as long as he wants to keep it?
Yeah.
Or sell it to somebody else, or do something else?
Because I'm skeptical all the time, I feel like some people could go through this process, get it, and then turn around and sell it and never follow through with what they told us.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that's this man's
yeah.
intention.
So Michigan
really-
Liquor Control Commission has had people come to them looking for a license, and they've advised them that Garfield has one available.
And is it this one?
This is this one, that we have this available to give to somebody,
Because there's no address on it?
because there's been no action on it, it's been,
So the question is, does it
Yeah,
come back
let's
to us?
make sure we're doing it by the numbers.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Chris should look into it more and come
Yeah.
back to us, and then we can
Absolutely.
make a decision from there.
I think it's
You're
appropriate.
used to being the liquor cop, right?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
Yeah, so I'll just wait to hear back from the licensing division and then report back to you. And Mr. Bueller came in to see you, I don't know, like a month ago.
Yeah.
And we had a good conversation. He's kind of new to all this, so he's not very organized. He, there was a recommendation, suggestion that he pull his application for the first building that was contentious, which he came in and did, and then just start the process over for the new location. So we have not received anything for the new location yet.
Okay.
So he's kind of at square two now. He's got his license, now he's got to find a location.
Do we need a motion to that effect?
I
or
just
just?
have a question.
Okay, I'm sorry, Chloe, yes.
So just to clarify, this is, do we have to respond to this by
You
a
do-
certain date?
You don't.
Or
It just
don't
gives
have to?
you notice that you can author or give an opinion.
Okay.
And at this point, I think it's best just to lay low and
Going to, okay.
learn more.
So basically, we want to direct Chris to gather as much information as he can about where we are in this process, what rights we have,
Yep.
What are our options?
and
Yeah.
let's talk about it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You want that in the form of a motion or just?
No.
No, okay, all right. Figure out what you can figure out, Chris. That's good information. Okay,
there's Amy,
item G
I'm
is
sorry.
consideration of a title change for our annual poverty and hardship exemption policy and guidelines and approval, and that's under resolution 2024-32-T, and I believe Amy's gonna talk to this a little bit.
Okay, so we approve this policy every year, you know that. And there are a lot of people that will call and ask for, if we have any breaks that we can give them. And when we tell them it's called a poverty or a hardship exemption, yeah, I can almost feel them cringe. And some of them don't ever come in and apply, even though I know they qualify. And we've, of course, increased the federal poverty guideline income limit so that, making it a little easier because we are an expensive place to live and all of that. So I thought perhaps, and I talked to Chris about it, that we could change the title of it from something that sounds a little derogatory and labeling maybe, and make it something that people might not feel so uncomfortable applying for.
I like the Garfield Cares exemption.
Well, and Chris also added one, hardship to hope.
I kind of like income-based exemption. It's just factual, you're not,
I think it should say what it is.
it is income-based.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was leaning toward needs-based.
Life
was
enhancement?
the other one that I.
residential release,
This is the one.
Residential release.
needs-based
Needs-based is different from
exemption.
income.
There's some of those that, or just call it hardship. But my question,
Go ahead, Molly, you're
you're
getting.
losing control of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm listening to you.
My question is, so if the state has their wording one way, and it's called the poverty,
Yep, it is,
Hardship.
and their forms will stay that way.
we don't need to make it confusing for everybody and change the name to something else because it feels good.
We don't have to, no.
Yeah, but do we want the extra, not having things lined up with the state? Are there forms and things that we need to share back and forth? And should it be the same as the state?
The state forms are the ones that are included, and it does say poverty exemption. And the law actually says poverty exemption, but there are several other municipalities throughout the state that use something other than,
Changed.
yes.
I don't really, I don't object to something as long as it says what it is. I mean, it's nice to say hope and Garfield Cares and Helping Hands and all that stuff, but it doesn't really say what it is.
I like Chuck's.
Yeah, residential relief or needs-based or hardship exemption.
I like the
or-
income-based.
Is it based on income?
It is,
you
Okay,
go.
so.
Yes.
which, I
yeah.
mean, we all need income, so we could use needs too. I think they say the same thing.
Poverty, I think,
Yeah.
is appropriate. I think at this day and age, that's probably maybe, in this political climate or
Right.
woke climate, I think is probably a good, term to get rid of, so. What are you looking to us just rename our program,
Our policy,
our policy?
yep.
Make a motion that we rename our policy to income-based
Exemption?
exemption policy.
I'll support that.
Motion made and supported to rename the current policy from poverty hardship exemption to income-based exemption. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks,
And
Amy.
then the rest of it is, the policy itself has been updated for 2025 with
Yeah,
the
we need
income
to-
numbers.
You're gonna change the name on it.
Yep. Do you want me to change that before I bring it back?
No.
Or can we just,
We'll trust you to change it.
thank you.
Yeah,
Pass the
take care of
resolution.
that.
Okay.
I would
we
make a
just
motion
change
to
the name?
approve Resolution 2024-32-T with the change the board suggested.
Thank you.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-32-T as amended this evening. Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor,
Thank you
signify
for
by saying
explaining
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I
carried.
think we might need a roll call on that one.
Oh, do we? Okay. And go take a roll on that one.
Corn, excuse me, Corn?
It's a yes.
Was it McManus? Did you second
McCumber.
that?
Yes, it was me, McCumber.
Cumber. Okay, Lapp,
Yes.
McManus,
Yes.
Augustinelli,
Yes,
Schmuckel,
Yes.
and McManus.
Yes, so all resolutions are called, just so I know in the future, all resolutions are
All
roll
res-
call.
yep.
Okay, got it. Learning.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Before you leave, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but on the border review, we have one spot open yet, right, then? No.
I can explain that.
You have it done.
Got all
Okay, I want
figured
to make
out.
sure before she left you had it. Okay, I didn't have it in my notes, so. We were still working on that at 7:30 this morning, so I wasn't sure where we ended up on that. Thank you.
You want me to do this?
Yeah, go for it, Denise.
Oh, how come I have to?
Oh, like you don't like this.
I heard this was gonna happen. I heard you were gonna line them up, and knock them, set them up and knock
Okay,
them down.
here we go. I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-34-T for the general fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-34-T. Any further discussion? Hearing none, and can we have a roll call?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-35-T, the fire fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-33-T. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, and
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
yes.
That's the general fund. It was H.
Yeah, but you just did the
So
fire.
you
said
do the
fire.
public improvement.
Wait a minute, I did the general fund.
And the fire budget.
You didn't do general, you did the poverty hardship exemption policy.
No, that was already
She
done.
did fire.
She
did it.
general
I
and
did the
fire have
general,
been
and
done.
H and I are done. You are on
Yeah.
J.
All
I'm on
right.
J.
Thank you.
That's the one I have in front of me is J, so I'll look up.
I make a motion that we approve a budget resolution number 2024-36-T, the road fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-36-T, the road fund budget. Any further discussion on that? And roll call, please.
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Supported
Corn.
that.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a
Actually-
motion,
Okay.
Yeah,
What?
just to clarify, Laney supported that, not McCumber, but I know we have similar names, McManuses and McCumbers, you know.
I make a motion that we approved Resolution 2024-37-T, the stabilization fund budget.
Second.
Time out for just a second. Did I miss DPW?
No, that's
No, we're not
next.
there yet. It's on the back side.
This
of
is the
last
top, back side of it, here,
Front and back.
back, yeah.
Wonder I missed that one. Got it.
I already
Second.
moved
Yeah.
and seconded.
All right, motion made and supported to approve and this is,
J, K.
okay, Resolution 2024-37-T, the the budget stabilization fund budget. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McManus.
I make a motion that we,
Yes, yes.
oh, I'm sorry. Make a motion we adopt Resolution 2024-38T, the DPW fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-38-T, the DPW fund budget. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-39T, the park system fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the Resolution 2024-39-T, the park system fund budget. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-40-T, the streetlight fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the Resolution 2024-40-T, the streetlight fund budget. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Was Augustinelli?
It was Augustinelli.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-41-T, the special assessment district fund budget.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-41-T, the special assessment District Fund budget. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-42-T, the Township Clerk's salary.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-42-T, the clerk's salary. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-43-T, the Township Treasurer's salary.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-43-T, the Township Treasurer's salary. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Ann?
Okay, Schmuckel.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
And McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion we adopt Resolution 2024-44-T, the Township Supervisor's salary.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-44-T, the Supervisor's salary. Any further discussion on that motion?
McCumber.
Hearing none. Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-45-T, the Township Trustees salary.
Second.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2024-45-T, the Township Trustees salary. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
And McManus.
Yes.
Do you want me to continue or on this one?
Yeah.
Make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2024-46T, the annual exemption option as set forth in 2011 Public Act 152, the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act.
I'll second that.
Motion made and supported to adopt Resolution 2024-46-T as read. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Ann?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
I'm done.
I've never spent so much money so quick in my life. All right, there, so, all right. So we're done all the way down to item, I believe we're on item W now, or U, I'm sorry, U, and that's the Township's Liability Insurance Renewal Plan. Is this the one that we needed to refund, Laney, or is this different?
This is the one I had to, that they raised the rates because of all of our claims we had, and because of the upcoming lawsuit, they will be representing us in the one lawsuit. So our fund, it went up, our values went up, it gave a list of all of our claims that have been made, and so it went up $8,000, not what I was expecting, just under just under 8,000. So we did, that's the budget, the one thing I changed in our budget.
So the change was already made in the budget we already approved then.
Do we need a motion on that, or?
We do.
Yep.
Up the liability.
I make a motion that we accept the liability insurance.
I will second that.
Renewal.
If we'll consider maybe going out for a bid next year.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
We talked about that today, didn't we?
Good.
Motion made and supported that we approve the Township's Liability Insurance Renewal Plan as presented. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Ann, do we have a roll call?
Schmuckel. Oh, she left.
She said yes.
Okay, yes. Corn.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Lap.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
And McManus.
Yes. Okay. So now we're down to item V, which is our consideration of 2025 board appointments. We spent a lot of time on this the other day, and of course, now we have our seventh board member in place. So I'd like to work our way down through these. Starting on the top one on the list is Planning Commission. I know one of the applicants is here tonight. I had a meeting with John Syke, and we have two applicants on file, and we weighed those applicants, and John suggested, and I would support Kara Ewell being an heir. Kara's been on file for quite a while. As an applicant, she's attended a lot of meetings, been involved with public comment, and spent a lot of time during our master plan attending meetings. So that was John's recommendation. I would support that. Do we have, just for my own purpose, do we approve these individually as we go, or as a slate?
Usually do it as a slate.
Yeah, we usually do it as a slate.
That's fine, and that's what I would pencil that in for Planning Commission. All the other positions are in place. As we look at, I took the notes from the other day and sat down with Chris, and historically, the four trustees, there's, I think the term, the big four committees were out there. Each of the four trustees would sit on one of those four committees. That being Planning Commission, Metro Fire, the Parks and Rec, and then the Joint Rec. So I would, I think we penciled Lori in for Joint Rec, was where we had penciled in for Lori. And then we had Parks and Rec. Denise has been there, and Molly's on Planning Commission. So I don't know where that leaves, whether we're comfortable with, I would suggest Chuck going on Metro, and then Molly, or Denise, and
Wait, say that again.
I would, for Metro, right now it was Chuck and Chris. They're both gone. I'm on there. And then you and Molly, you and Denise, or you and Molly were alternates.
Correct.
So, if you stayed on Parks and Rec, I was suggesting that Chuck go on Metro, unless somebody else feels differently.
I would like to go on Metro.
Okay.
I really would.
Are you going off of Parks?
Yeah.
Okay.
They need you on Parks.
Why do they need me on Parks?
Because.
Okay.
Chuck, what would you prefer?
I know you want to be TCCI. I know that was one.
Yeah,
that's not one of the big
TTCI
four.
for sure. I would like to be on Metro, but it's not I do think there's a lot of history there that I've been a part of.
Right, I know.
And I would think Joe and I would make a pretty good team there.
I don't know what the process has been in the past. I don't know how we come up with the consensus. I haven't been involved in this before. Yeah.
If he goes on Metro, can I still be an alternate? Because I put on for full time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was, my suggestion was Chuck and I with you as the number one alternate.
Okay. I have no problem with that, as long as I'm the number one alternate.
And there's very possibly times while I'm still working full-time, might not be able to
And
make
it's
this
happened before. Molly and I have had to go on for both of them for something. So
No, my suggestion was myself and Chuck with you as the number one alternate, and Molly doesn't want to be involved in it, and I would actually make Lori the second alternate on that.
Okay. No, that's fine with me.
What about Chloe?
You okay with that? Because I'm
alternate too.
Chloe's on there too.
I'm sorry, Chloe was on there. I apologize. It was Chloe. That's who I'm sorry, Chloe. You're right. It was you, and Denise is the number one alternate, you as the second alternate.
If Lori wants to be alternate, that's
No, I'm good.
Okay. I mean, I have
yeah.
been trying to attend them, and I do have the time to attend.
Well,
so I think
and I would
One year I'll take it
encourage,
next time around.
I would encourage Lori, especially in any of us, that, if you're an alternate, attend some meetings. I think you still get reimbursed for that attendance
See
and
them.
get up to speed, stay up to speed on them as well.
Can I suggest something. I don't know if this is going to be okay with the board, but if Lori wants to attend some Metro board meetings, even though she's not an alternate, can we still pay her for going to those?
Yeah, I think so.
$50.
I would think so, because I would like to see her get more
Knowledgeable.
about, because I
Well-
know I become knowledgeable by being an alternate and sitting a couple times.
Okay.
So I would really think that,
Okay. I think we could, because we can't pay Chloe. She could go and sit with them. Elected officials
I
can't
mean, I
get
think it's
paid
good just to
being
encourage all board
reimbursed.
members to be engaged.
yeah,
I think
exactly,
that's a really good thing.
exactly.
So we have myself and Chuck with Denise as an alternate, and then Chloe and Lori as alternates.
Yeah.
All right?
So I'm alternate one and they're alternates
Yes,
two?
you're
Okay.
alternate one, definitely.
Think
Okay.
one and think two.
ZBA, I don't think there's any changes, although I don't know that Steve's still an alternate. I don't think he really is.
We have two alternate positions, so.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's go with, my suggestion there, so we have the 5 members. My suggestion is Ben as the alternate on that, alternate 1, and then maybe Kelly as alternate 2 on that. They showed interest in that.
And the alternates do have to work a lot, because I know that Rick Smith goes away for the winter, so. be
Yeah, and
prepared.
ZBA honestly doesn't meet all that
If we have a
often.
meeting.
Okay. All right. Board of Review, I know we have Chris, Cherry and Jim back. Chris, what else did you have on that one?
Yeah, Dan Ladd does not have interest, but Larry Lacrosse, who is with the Road Commission, expressed interest, and I would recommend him.
Okay.
And so would Amy support that.
Yeah. Right. And I met with, I had the 10-minute introductory meeting with the Board of Review today. And so, yeah, Cherry and Jim are back in, and Larry seemed interested. So that's what I would suggest for that one. Okay. Parks and Rec,
I have a question
I'm
on
sorry.
that. Have we gotten Fern's resignation? Okay, because I have not seen it.
It was just an email.
Okay, I did not see it.
I think
I
it came.
don't think you
I
guys
it
have met
came
since
to
you've-
Chris and I believe, when it was just a letter saying
Yes,
she was stepping
I
down.
think came through Karen.
Okay, well, just so I know,
Karen, yeah,
before we
so-
put somebody on there, to make sure that we've gotten her letter of resignation.
We do.
Okay, thank you.
We'll trust you.
Okay. Just this time.
So Parks and Rec, Denise would stay on as a town board member. We have Chris DeGood, Chris Remy, Art, Andrew, and Bill, and then we have an open spot. We have 2 people that have shown interest, Jessica, who we interviewed for the trustee position last night, and somebody named Andrew Farron. Yes.
I have opinion on this. I mean, I know everybody has opinions.
No, you have an opinion on something?
Stop it!
I know, go ahead.
But I liked what she was talking about last night when we were interviewing her about trails and everything else, yes.
Talking Jessica.
Just because of what she wanted to see in happening, and I think she would be a good asset on the parks.
That's actually who I had penciled in to fill
Yeah,
that spot.
I think she would be, from what she said last night, in her interview process.
She also mentioned she was on the county's
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, yeah.
board.
Mhm.
And we really don't have alternates on Parks and Rec,
No,
right?
mm-mm.
Okay, so I would suggest that we fill the open spot with Jessica.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Same opinion. Okay, Joint Rec, we had Lori penciled in to be Joint Rec. And that's important, there's a lot of things going on at Joint Rec, so it's a busy thing. So Lori, Mike, and Tim. Any problems with that? Move on to the Joint Planning Commission. That was vacated by me, and it has to be a Planning Commission member, and Molly has agreed to take on that. It's only 4 meetings a year, but really some fascinating things that come through that board with the whole commons and the joint thing there. So Molly in with Joint Planning. No changes on Building Code. Personnel Committee, Chris and Laney, and we have Denise, Chloe, and Lori all there. I'm not sure where we ended up with that. I thought we
With Lori
definitely
and
wanted
Chloe.
Lori on there, and Chloe thought she's here, and Denise wants to be on there, so.
Right, I was just thinking if you have 3 members that work here full-time? Should you have it 2 and 2, like Lori and I and Chris and Laney?
I'm open to that discussion. I know I purposely stepped off that board, thought it was appropriate that I not be there, so
We don't really vote as a board, right? So it's not necessary to have an odd number. Is that
No.
correct?
No.
Or
Right.
just-
No.
So we are a recommending board, and we have to come back to this board. And sometimes, I don't know, Chloe's never been on that before. And she, I don't know, I think having us here, we know the people, what's going on.
Yeah, but I understand, but then when you have 2 people that are not working here full-time with 2 people that are working here full-time, you're more balanced that way, too.
in the past, it's been 3, right?
Right.
And we're putting Chris on there as an ad hoc on that. He's an ad hoc on every committee anyway, but we had a lot of discussion about this. I didn't know where we ended up the other night. Do we have alternates on this or not?
No.
No, alternates. Go ahead, Chloe.
So one thing that I feel like I can offer is that this is my full-time job, so I have time to help do research and get resources from MTA or from MTA's attorney, or, I have time to network with other townships of what they do. Not that you don't, Denise, because you're retired, but I know Chris said there's a lot to do with the handbook and, just a lot to look into. And I feel like I have extra time to do that, and I like to do that kind of stuff, so.
You've
But,
done a lot of good research for us. Lots of it.
Yeah, so, and I was an employee before I became the treasurer, so I feel like I also offer that perspective. I know what it feels like to not be a boss, so that too, but.
Because Laney, you're HR, right?
Laney
So
too. Laney
HR
was-
probably
I'm
is pretty
HR.
necessary.
Yeah, and
Handling the insurances and all that kind of thing too, so. I know Chuck's been on it, but you weren't part of that discussion where it was better off that we didn't have me on there, which I actually agree with.
Fine.
No, we had the discussion, it was better not to have husband and wife on the personnel committee.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting.
Not a good look.
Yeah.
So, so,
I would be
don't
happy
agree.
with Chloe and Lori.
all right.
I have no problem with that
And
whatsoever.
I had a big question mark between the 3 of you, so he's
He's questioning us, girls.
No, so, okay,
Lori's
let's put
Lori's a
Chloe and
pro.
Lori in there.
Well, and we know we want Lori on there
Yeah,
because
Lori,
of,
yeah.
yeah.
Lori's on.
Yeah, we get free professional HR help, so.
Exactly.
Okay.
Not exactly.
Hear that?
It's $100.
It's pretty free.
Yeah, you guys don't have to
Grounds, and I had, for building and grounds, I have Denise, and then, is it only, who's the township maintenance? Who would that be?
It's Sean and Derek.
Sean and
Sean and
Derek.
Derek.
Sean and Derek are on
One or
there.
the other.
Okay, so I would suggest that Denise and possibly if Molly do that one, or,
I could do it, but
Chloe.
Chloe is here and she does all the research
Right.
on it anyway.
all right, well,
Do
it's-
you want to do it, or do you?
I put my name in because I thought I would enjoy it, but I don't need to do it either.
Oh, you need to do it.
all right. So we'll go with Chloe again.
Said Jeremy, you're telling you, she needs to do it.
So
do it.
if Molly's not gonna arm wrestle for it, we'll
fine
go with
it. I'm
Chloe.
fine. Yeah,
Chloe's
I
fine.
did put my name in because I was interested in it.
And that was the finance one too, that
we put Chris on
we
there.
put Chris on instead of Joe, Chuck?
Yeah.
Again, because of husband and wife?
And I questioned because I didn't know, I guess I'll open this up to discussion. Chris and I have had a lot of discussions in the last couple of weeks, and as we're comparing the resolutions, creating the supervisor part-time position, and then me delegating duties to him, the formulation of the budget's on both of our lists. So I don't know if that is an oversight, or it means we're supposed to work together on it, or whatever, but, so I questioned, what is the purpose of the finance committee? Well, the finance committee isn't the one that creates the budget. The finance committee is more the checks and balances to make sure we're staying on budget. So I don't need to be on the finance committee, but I think statutorily I need to be involved in
budget,
writing the
right.
budget according to the resolution you guys
Right.
passed. So I'm fine with not being on finance because that's not the role of the finance committee the way I understand it. So, and Chris and I will obviously, I can delegate most of the work to Chris, and I can take the credit. So that's, I'm sorry.
I like that.
So, so it's finance, I'm comfortable with Chris, Laney, Chloe, and Betty. So,
Does Betty want to be on there, Lainey?
Yeah, she'll
Okay.
all right. Election committee, Laney has to be on there probably, and then Molly and Denise, there's no change there.
We don't have any elections this year, so
No.
knock on wood, yeah.
Hoping not.
In 2 years, we have a
2
good
years,
one. Law enforcement, Chris and myself and Denise on law enforcement. Ethics, we have Chris, Joe, and Denise, and then we have another opening apparently. Is there 4 on there? Is it?
And Lori Lapp put her name in.
Lori?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was, we never had Chris on it, but he's.
Well, he's
fixed,
ad
so,
hoc. I'm reading his name's on
Yeah.
there, so Lori
We'll
on
put
that.
Lori in there too.
Yes, myself, Denise, and Lori. So you guys can keep me ethical, I guess, better than that. Code enforcement, that's pretty straightforward. You got Carl, Mike, Derek, and Sean. With the Grand Traverse County Commission and the Road Commission, Chris and I are just going to work together to try to have one of us at those meetings when possible. Not always going to be possible, but, like Chris, the commission's meeting here on Thursday, and they'll be deciding if I can't make it. Hopefully you'll be able to run upstairs and sit in on that meeting, kind of a thing. So we'll just try to get some representation there.
Absolutely.
And then we decided TCCI, we're going to put Chuck in that with Lori as an alternate on that. If anybody's comfortable with that. And that is all my first swag at committee appointments.
Okay. We need a motion then.
I make a motion that we adopt the 2025 board appointments.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the 2025 committee and board appointments as discussed this evening. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are getting right down to the nitty-gritty.
Excuse me.
Township board meeting dates. I think we hashed this out the other day.
Yeah, the only one was that this one still has November.
Yeah, we had.
November
changed the other-
11th
yeah,
on it,
yeah.
but to change it to November 4th.
November 4th. So we changed the November 11th Veterans Day to November 4th, knowing that the second one in November could be questionable with Thanksgiving in case we don't. But we
Right.
had it this year, though, so we'll see where we're at, so.
You canceled many second meetings in
Yeah.
November.
As well as December.
Yes.
Do we need a motion on that?
I believe so, yes.
Make a motion that we adopt the 2025 Township Board meeting dates with November 11th being changed to November 4th.
Support.
Motion made and supported to adopt the 2025 Garfield Township meeting dates as published with the change of November 11th to November 4th. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Takes us to our last public comment. So item 9, public comment. Anybody from the public would like to step forward and say anything? All right, we'll close public comment. Any other business come before the board this evening? Go ahead, Chris.
As far as, I'll get with Karen to get this updated, and then as far as notifying these people of their appointments, how does that work? Is that
Get the
something I
number.
would do, or,
Or Karen.
okay.
Yeah, and then they'll need to be sworn in, right, Laney? They'll need to come see, have to get sworn in, correct?
Yeah, some of them do, yes.
Okay.
Just one.
Take care of that.
Work with Karen on that.
One more thing. In our bills, we pay dues to Rotary, and I don't know if anybody is attending Rotary. Chuck used to.
The bill that was paid was for the third quarter.
Well, I just mean, do we have someone who's going to go to those meetings?
Oh,
Because
Me.
you used to. Does Joe want to do that? Does Chris
Where's
want? I just
No,
feel like
I feel like it's probably something I could do and should do, probably, or at least Chris or I. Hadn't thought
Or
about.
both of you.
Somebody should be.
Yeah, we should have somebody there.
Why can't
Which
we
meeting? I missed
so
it.
do
it's,
both of them?
I can invite one of them to come into Rotary. and-
Yeah, He's a Rotarian.
Right, but I'm
It's
just
a,
saying,
it's
why,
not a, it's not a given.
yeah, but I'm just,
Oh, you have
no, I'm
They
talking
made, they
about,
made blackball Joe.
if
have
you
to-
invite them, what
Very
I'm,
well
To
might.
pass the,
what I'm
Even though
asking,
we pay
He's
dues, we
a-
don't have a member necessarily, if they reject them?
can I finish saying what I'm saying?
Yeah, go ahead,
They,
Denise.
they do
What,
reject
no,
people occasionally, but not very often.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
You have to
Can
be
I-
accepted, apparently.
Yeah, if they're, what I'm saying is, if they both are accepted, would we be willing to pay for both of their dues? Because right now, we're only paying for one, but I think that we should have our township manager there also.
What are Rotary dues? What do they amount to?
It was $327, it was in our
Not every
bills.
quarter, so is that also paying for your lunch?
Yes.
Okay.
But you also have to commit
337.
to, you go to that Rotary meeting.
Yeah, when are they? I
Every
don't,
time.
Yeah.
It's
Tuesdays
not-
at noon.
They don't
Every
allow you to
Tuesday at
skip,
lunchtime.
so.
Tuesday
it's
when?
not like
Tuesdays
a-
at noon. 11:45, actually.
Every Tuesday.
yeah, I
every.
don't know that I don't know that I could commit every Tuesday at noon. I mean, until I'm retired, which, you know.
Every is.
Well, why can't we do it this way?
Is it every Tuesday, every week? Okay.
Why don't we have Chris do it, and then if and when you retire,
Right.
we
We'll
can look.
revisit it.
We'll revisit it,
Sounds good to me.
okay?
I mean, I'm good
You
with that.
available at noon on Tuesdays,
Every
Chris?
Tuesday? Yeah, does he have to go every?
Is there a free
And
lunch?
you owe me
involved in
lunch,
that?
too.
A free lunch,
Yeah.
every Tuesday,
Okay.
Good job.
okay?
Really
Yeah, I
free.
didn't, yeah, I would love to do it, and I think I will eventually, but I
Well, we can revisit
I
it
have
after
another
you
job that I
retire.
have to still do, so for right now, so I
No,
gotta keep
come
doing
on.
that, so.
We
Come on
understand.
now.
Thanks for bringing that up, though, Chloe, thank you for that, so.
See, should we tell you, she's so good.
She remembers things. Anything else come before the board this evening?
No.
If not, I think we're, yeah,
Make a
Chris,
We have
almost.
our potluck on next Wednesday at noon.
Christmas.
Just a reminder.
Paul, did you
Staff.
get
Oh,
invited to that?
I did have
Get
Laney put
invited to
me
that?
on the list with something, I don't know if I better talk.
I haven't done it yet.
Oh,
Just
okay.
wanted
Venison, is
to-
it gonna be venison related?
I
So,
hear everybody has a thing.
I will be at that one.
Because ours, the Metros is the 19th, and now I just got an invitation to that one.
Parker always
The
came.
potluck's on the 19th, but the Metro meeting's on the 17th, so.
That's my birthday, so I don't have to go.
And your awards thing is in
They
January.
did appoint me chief,
All
they
in here.
made my
Always good
term
party when
effective,
there's-
so I'll be at the
And
17th
the
meeting.
awards is paid for by
Oh,
Might be a few.
auction.
Correct.
He's not
donated
appointed until
funds.
January 1st.
But his,
Favorite thing in town.
is he still on it from the last time? Or You,
My
you,
fault,
you
I'm
like,
sorry.
you voted to make me,
You're the supervisor.
I was advocating for
So I did that for years, now being
who's,
the
and
supervisor.
Chris isn't anymore, so I don't think you wanna make a quick motion to
Are we
extend.
adjourned?
No, we have
Oh,
a
we're not
question
adjourned yet.
here. The
We-
17th meeting.
We have a board meeting for Metro on the 17th. I'm on that board. I'm fulfilling Chuck's remainder of his as supervisor. We may need a quick motion to make Chuck's appointment to Metro effective immediately,
Or have the alternate go.
or have an alternate go.
We can make Chuck's effective immediately. I mean,
We have to make a motion on it.
Make the
let's make a
that
motion.
Chuck is immediately on the Metro board.
I approve, I second.
Motion made and supported to make Chuck's newly appointed term on Metro Board effective immediately. Any further discussion on that?
Can you go the 17th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, hearing, roll call or just, no?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So
Make a
we will have
motion,
two
we
rep-
adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Safe driving.